Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where Google Translate saves the day. Because this week we watched The Gathering.
Written by John Fay.
Directed by Guy Ferland.
And aired on September 2nd, 2011.
We're about one episode away from finding out what all of this is about.
And, how are they going to explain it all in the next 50 minutes? Just how? I said this before recording, but we learned what the blessing is in this episode, and I don't think what it actually is would have been, if you'd asked me before, in my top 100 guesses as to what it actually is.
Look, I don't know. I'm gonna not second that thought because I don't know if I could even come up with 100 guesses as to what it is. Like if you told me to keep guessing till I got it right, I would tap out like 10 guesses in. I'd be like, just tell me.
Yeah, same here probably, but if I could, in some alternate universe where I can come up with 100 guesses, this wouldn't be in one of them. Or this wouldn't be one of them, rather. Because it's just wild. It's just, there's so many questions that this raises. So many. And so few that it answers.
This is relevant right to the start of the episode, so I'll just pose this question now. Is like, I don't know why this episode decided to go for like the Avengers Endgame surprise time jump. Like, the episode opens, we get a little recap of last week, and then it goes 2 months later, and I'm like, so 2 months since the start of Miracle Day, right? Like this is saying that this is all taking place over 2 months. Nope. They have like explicit dialogue later that confirms that it's been 2 months since the end of the road. And just they made no progress towards ending the miracle or anything. In fact, it looks like they didn't even try to make any progress. It looks like they just sat on the behinds for 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, later on in the episode, you even see the CIA director, he's just reveling in it, basically. He goes in...
Shapiro, Alan
right.
Shapiro.
Shapiro, he's smoking in his office, and Rex comes in, and he's like, you still can't smoke in here. And he's like, why not? It's not going to kill me. And, they really, I mean, they haven't. They've had to resort to what Gwen has had to resort to, which is stealing drugs to keep her father, quote unquote, alive. The CIA has barely made any progress, and it seems to be really just Rex who's been trying to forward things, probably because every attempt they've made has been thwarted. And yeah, the world is just in shambles. It's falling apart.
Yeah, I was just surprised. Coming off the back of last week, seemed like they were in a place where they were gonna finally make some progress, finally crack this whole thing wide open, and then we just get like the bombshell of a plot reveal that it's been 2 whole damn months since they've done anything. So devastating.
Gwen has it pretty bad, though. Gwen has it pretty bad because the episode opens on just some desolate streets, and all of a sudden a car just rams into a pharmacy through the glass. Just rams in. There's a guy, an older guy, walking around, and he's just like, whoa. And lo and behold, it's Gwen.
Yeah, Gwen has turned, how far she's fallen from...
Wow.
How far she's fallen from being a cop. She's turned to a life of crime to not even keep her dad alive, because remember, no one can die. It's to buy drugs so that he's not in pain.
And buy, in quotes.
Oh yeah, steal, sorry. You're right.
It is an underlying thing in this episode, the one that they don't necessarily portray too well, I guess, although this episode has a lot of other things going on, is that like society is kind of collapsed. They mostly focus on indoor areas like the inside of Gwen's house, that they're now living in and the CIA office. So you don't really see too much of that, but it's there in the dialogue.
They kind of, they do the like tell don't show thing instead of the opposite, which is what you're supposed to do, because we only really hear that the world has fallen apart through like Shapiro saying the throwaway line like, recession becomes depression and now we're all stuck. Or like when Gwen just speaks about how the world has gone to hell.
Mm-hmm.
We never actually really see it, except for this beginning scene where she's stealing these drugs, and that's like we see also. I mean, we do see later on the guy come to try and take away Garant,
mm-hmm.
but to no avail.
Right. But hey, at least all of this gives us the triumphant return of Jubilee Pizza. Because I don't know if you noticed, but Gwen, to avoid the surveillance that she knows she's under, hides the drugs in Jubilee Pizza boxes.
No, I didn't notice that. Honestly, I didn't, I didn't lose anything by missing that.
Well, except the euphoria that knowing Jubilee Pizza has made it through the apocalypse can give you.
The apocalypse. This is like...
That's what this is.
In the history of Doctor Who, this is like... this is like the least apocalyptic apocalypse.
I did like this sort of time skip and the sort of world that they were presenting, however well, maybe not very well, but I liked it in comparison to Children of Earth, which was, it was only over the course of a week, yet this one is different in that it's obviously over the course of many months, so you can kind of see that difference there of how people are reacting.
Yeah, but they like do it over a couple months in such a cheap way by just skipping 2 months, like...
I mean,
if they had skipped a couple days between each episode, then we could really see how people react to this over the whole thing. Because as it stands, we really actually only see how they react in the first 7 days, and then how they react 2 months later. We didn't see the progression, and it actually seems like the main Torchwood team hasn't changed at all over those 2 months.
No, the first couple of episodes did have time pass. Remember, they traveled all the way to LA.
Yeah, but that was implied to be the next day.
Didn't they drive? It had to have been a couple weeks. I remember talking about this. We're like, yeah, it's been probably at least a week.
Did we? I have no recollection of talking about this in all honesty.
Yeah, we talked about, I think it was in Escape to LA, actually. We talked about how this had a longer time span. And it's I
have no recollection of this.
Yeah, you do, you see, I mean... This episode more so than any of the other ones, obviously, because it's been 2 months. But, you kind of see that, from the perspective of the Torchwood team, at least, they're just, they're stuck. And, I mean, that's how the last episode left us, too. Maybe we were laughing, too. I don't know. But, but Esther was like, oh, my God, I don't know what to do. And then, 2 months later, they still don't know what to do. They're just stuck. They're completely stuck. And who else but Oswald Danes actually forwards things?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know why the 2 month skip was necessary, because it didn't really add much. We knew that the stock market was collapsing already thanks to... what episode was it? It was last week.
Whatever it was last week. I can't remember the titles.
End of the Road, where, Olivia Colasanto says, oh, yeah, the stock market's, on the brink of collapse. We're about to enter a recession. And then, in this episode, we're clearly deep into the depression. But has anything actually really changed besides the fact that we're all stealing drugs now? Seems like Gwen has invented Postmates because she gets all her groceries delivered. But like, is she paying for those groceries? Is this just like a trade agreement? She's like scalping drugs, we forgot to mention. Yes, she's stealing drugs for her dad, which is all right. I can give her a pass on that. That's a noble enough cause. But like the fact that she's scalping the drugs and selling them at higher prices to her friends is like,
Yeah, I can get behind that, you know? But yeah, I mean, the getting groceries delivered thing also, you know, another thing that rings a little different in 2021. Not that I ever did that over the course of 2020 or now.
No.
No, I just contracted, you know, whatever's out there by going to the store. No, I think I had COVID last March when it first started. I don't know if I've ever revealed that on the podcast, but I'm pretty sure I had it.
No, I don't
I'm pretty
think
sure I
so.
had it in March. I'm not sure. I was sick in March 2020, so. And I was going out at around, like, I was going out a lot at that time for various reasons, so. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, Gwen gets home, and this is when we see the sort of setup that she has for Garant. He's in this little basement area, but they've installed this secret closet behind a wall to keep him safe.
They've installed a secret closet behind the secret closet. It's a secret closet hidden in the secret basement. Gotta be extra secret.
But meanwhile, in Scotland, Esther's still treating Jack's wound that he got 2 months ago.
Which he hasn't healed from.
Right. Jack seems to want to get back into action, though. That's what this initial scene gives you, I guess, with Jack. And it's right. It's true. He does get back into action later on.
Did this scene give you the sense that, like, him and Esther definitely hooked up at some point? Because that's the sense I got from this.
Not at all. Not even in the slightest. Didn't even cross my mind until now.
Well, you're welcome. I put the thought in your mind. I hope you appreciate it.
Well, it's Jack, so, you know, not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. I'm sure there's also, you know, at least one story on AO3 about that happening, so...
At least one? Come on. Let's be real here.
All right.
I'm thinking like at least a dozen.
Okay, fine. Whatever. All right.
So
there was something funny in this scene, though, of I think Esther is like, someone says it's Scotland, we can't get much further north than this. It was just like, I don't know. My mind immediately went to Victor Frankenstein, you know, going like, want to bet? Sledding north to the North Pole. I don't know if you remember that from Frankenstein, but like that's the whole thing of like, you know, in the Frankenstein, the book, the original book, he's like just dog sledding north as far as he can go to the North Pole to chase the creature.
What a thrilling chase.
Freezing dying of hypothermia.
Spoilers. Can't believe you just spoiled that for me.
You haven't read Frankenstein the book?
No.
You should read it. It's pretty good. I've read it like 4 times.
Jeez, that's 3 times too many.
I read it like twice. In 2018, I read it twice that year. That's how much I liked it.
Impressive.
Yeah. Probably one of the best 1800s things I've read. Just going to put that out there. Actually, it probably is.
You've read multiple 1800s things?
Oh, yeah. I've read a ton from the 1800s and the I've read more from the 1700s than from the 1800s, actually.
What? Why?
English major.
And they were just like, the 1800s, that's the century we're going to focus in on. You're going to read just everything published in the 1800s. And if you don't, we're not giving you your degree.
Yeah, you basically summed it up.
This is why we keep me on the podcast, to ground us outside of the wild and wonderful world of English majors. We need someone who's just a regular old guy.
Just a regular old physics major. Just a regular old quantum physics studier.
I don't study quantum physics. I study cosmology.
Okay, that's even more out there. Literally, it's even more, it's on a more out there scale. It's almost the opposite side of the scale.
I mean, yes, yeah, that's true. So, Reese has this conversation with Gwen where he reveals he's been offered a job driving for the camps, driving category 1s to the furnaces again, just like he was doing when he pretended to have a job last episode.
I think he says that it wouldn't be to the furnaces, it would just be to the camps. Obviously part of the... Yeah.
Which is like only one step removed from basically taking them to the furnace.
Gwen, in a total 180 of her perspective at the beginning of this, or at the stage 2 months earlier, is just like, yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do. I guess just showing how, I don't know, low the world has fallen. Just how this situation has affected them. Not for the better.
Well, like I said, how far Gwen has fallen.
Yeah,
the answer is very.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall. And, Gwen seemed to be a pretty moral, upstanding person at the beginning of the show.
If someone falls from great heights during the apocalypse and no one is alive to hear them, did they fall?
Well, luckily, we don't even have to ponder the question because everyone's alive. No one can die, so... Except for all the people they're incinerating, of course.
Except for Angelo, I guess.
Yeah, and Jack.
Well, possibly.
I like how this episode has just completely forgotten the whole Angelo, thing, for the most part.
It's been 2 months. This is a convenient explanation if like forget anything in the final episode, forget anything from the first couple episodes. Just it's been 2 months.
Yeah, but even from a meta outside, storytelling perspective, they don't touch on the whole Angelo subplot, backstory, flashback thing at all.
Again, 2 months.
Yeah, maybe they...
Would have been great if that Angelo thing happened in episode 3 and we actually saw Jack's the effect on Jack over the course of the next 2 months. But 2 month time skip, fine.
I don't think they could have put the Angelo backstory in episode 3. It would have drawn too much attention to itself. You would have known it had something to do with the miracle and would have revealed too much too early, I think. But whatever.
But even when we got it, we were like, okay, this obviously has something to do with the miracle.
Yeah, but they didn't hide it. It was at that point they were they literally told us we're gonna go to Angelo and he's the one who knows about the miracle or whatever. Anyway, Rex is back in business at the CIA. And he seems to be the only one trying to make progress, likely because of what we learn in a couple minutes, which is that every time they've tried to advance learning more about the miracle, they've been blocked.
Yeah. By the mole in the agency, whose name is...
Charlotte. It's Charlotte Wills.
Charlotte. Yeah, there we go. Knew it was
they know there's a mole, they just don't know who it is.
Or Rex knows there's a mole. And Shapiro believes him. That's the extent of them, quote, knowing about the mole, close quote.
Well, they're at such a standstill and have so few leads that Rex decides to turn to pulp fiction to find answers. And it works.
It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, it works.
His justification is basically like, well, if we can't find anything else written about the miracle in like the newspaper, then surely somebody would write a story about it. You know, like it's too much of a wild thing to just ignore. And he's right.
Right. They end up finding a story written shortly after, you know, the whole thing with Angelo and Jack being kept in the basement would have went down, which describes the situation almost verbatim.
Yeah, so that's not suspicious.
They try to look into this, but they can't really extrapolate anything. You know, they come to basically a wall. They can't move forward finding the writer or anyone who he might be related to, because there are just too many possible descendants and just people who they would have to, you know, ask or search or whatever.
Well, I think what actually happens is that from the story, they find out. No, I think what actually happens is they look for his descendant because they look for the story writer's descendant because his brother got killed by someone in a cold case that never got solved, and they have the knife in federal custody. And what happens is they give the knife to Charlotte to run the DNA on, and Charlotte obviously comes back and is like, ha, didn't find any matches.
They have like, they come to this standstill, and then I forget exactly what it is, but it's like, then Rex is like, but we have this knife, which will like lead us back to his DNA, and because it still has blood on it. And then, yeah, exactly what you said just happens. They give it to Charlotte. They don't know she's the mole. And I mean, there's some pretty, you know, good moments in there where she's like clearly sweating bullets, like, oh no.
Oh shoot, they're onto us.
She weasels her way out of it.
You have to wonder, like, what is the incentive to join the families in this situation? Like, what is the incentive? What are they offering? Do they have just like a great healthcare plan?
I think
plan?
She is
like,
part of the families, right? She's like literally part of the family. She's related. I think that's what it was.
I mean, is she? There's no indication that that's the case.
What I, you know, got from her and all the people that Jilly meets with is that they were all, you know, literally part of the same three families. Like, they're literally the descendants or whatever.
But, like, Brian Friedkin was clearly not part of the family, but he worked for them. Like, they clearly have people on their payroll who are not part of the family. Unless just Brian Friedkin was also part of the family.
Yeah, I don't think he was because of some of his dialogue. Yeah, that's a good point. So, I don't know. Maybe she was or maybe she wasn't just working for them. Who knows?
But that, like, still, my point is, like, if you're not part of the family, what's your, like, incentive for working for them? And, again, do they just have a great healthcare plan? Or are they just like, we're going to make everyone immortal? And you're like, hell yeah, that sounds great. Sign me up.
Maybe they obviously, you know, have a lot of power. So maybe, you know, maybe like Jilly, maybe Charlotte was, like, vying for power or something. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, meanwhile, back in Scotland, which is not actually Scotland, because now... Well, Jack and Esther are in Scotland, but not for long, because Oswald Danes shows up at Gwen's house and picks up her baby, and it's a real big, like, oh shoot moment, because, you know, throwback to the fact that Oswald Danes is a goddamn pedophile.
Right.
And child murderer.
Yeah, I think, doesn't this happen after the first inspection? I think Gwen gets inspected.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, Gwen gets inspected. So basically what happens is that some Category 1, I guess just a sort of detachment whose job it is to find Category 1s that people are harboring, shows up at Gwen's door. They're kind of onto her. They search the basement. They don't find anything, though.
But we do see Mary gripping Geraint's mouth so he doesn't cry out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really tense scene. At the end of it all, the head inspector, whose name I don't remember, he had one.
Great, you even looked it was up
Finch,
Britain's
yeah.
10 actors.
Finch, he has a little speech at the end of the inspection where my interpretation of it was that he actually knew Geraint was there, or Geraint, and and the little monologue he gives was his way of being like, look, I know, but I'm going to look the other way. Apparently that wasn't the case, though.
No, I don't think that's the case at all.
No, it's definitely not, because he comes back later and just owns them. Pwns them, if you will. God, I don't think I've ever said that word out loud, and I definitely haven't read it or written it in like a decade.
I think my interpretation was that he was saying he knows Garrett is at the house and he was going to be back to find him. But
probably more accurate.
There's really nowhere else that like Garrett could be, so it's like not a bad guess at all that like he's at this house. That's like actually if you were a betting man, those would be really good odds.
Yeah, Reese and Gwen's like cover story is that like he was taken away and they just don't know where he is.
Terrible cover story. Terrible cover story.
It might not be that terrible because, you know, it really takes all the burden of explanation off of them, right? Their cover stories that they just have no idea.
I mean, their cover story is that he fell through the cracks in the government somehow.
Yeah, exactly. It pins it all on the government and not on them to explain his disappearance.
Yeah, but like, do you really want to blame the government for something? Because now they're just gonna move heaven and earth to prove that you're wrong. Like, that's why it's kind of a terrible, terrible ploy.
Yeah, that's the real lesson of Miracle Day is that the government will move at a turtle's pace except when they're called out for something. Then, and only then will they, you know, really embody, I don't know, Speed Racer or something.
I am Speed. So also, William Thomas, the actor who plays Garrett, is the only actor to have been in both Torchwood and both incarnations of Doctor Who. So there's your fun fact for the week. Thanks, Amazon.
Huh?
Only one more Amazon X-Ray fun fact of the week. I hope we go out with something really great next week.
What if you hover over the overlay to check the fact and it says on your screen, Dylan has spent the last however many weeks explaining these fun facts on a podcast. What would you do? What would your reaction be if you saw something like that?
I'd probably be like number 6 in The Prisoner and be like, okay, so which reality is real?
Check out Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast. We're watching the underrated 2009 Prisoner series.
Yeah, the cult television show, The Prisoner 2009. Yeah.
The beloved and groundbreaking series, The Prisoner 2009.
Well, Keith had made a tweet that had a good point saying that, like, the original Prisoner is not really a cult show because there are so many damn people talking about it that it's really kind of, like, sort of pseudo-mainstream, that The Prisoner 2009 is a much more cult series based on the, like, actual definition of cult series.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, back to the topic at hand. Once the guy leaves, we see someone delivering Gwen and Fam's groceries, and like immediately my first thought was that it was a spy for the police department to find out where Garrett is, but it's even better than that, and by better I mean worse.
It's Oswald Danes. Oh my god, it's Oswald Danes! Okay.
Oswald, he touched my hand!
No, Gwen, Reese, and, well, actually Mary isn't there, she's out, but Gwen and Reese are basically opposite of Oswald fanboys / girls, and Reese nearly murders Oswald.
Yeah, but not before Gwen does what we've all wanted to do, which is bash Oswald over the head with a bottle. Or was it a bottle?
It was a pot.
Pot.
Yeah, even worse.
Finally, Oswald getting his comeuppance. They tie him up and they're like, look, you tell us a lie, you become a permanent Category 1. Also, I guess just like that whole Category 0 thing just like didn't go anywhere in the past 2 months.
Yeah, another thing, like the entire Jack and what's his face subplot, another thing that just hasn't come back.
Somehow I don't think that one will come back.
Yeah, probably not. Maybe that's what people kind of point to when they say that like Miracle Day isn't like as tight as Children of Earth, is that it has these, yeah, they're pretty interesting. And they're fleshed out enough as they need to be, I guess, subplot type things, but ultimately it kind of just drops them.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't even seen, now that I think about it, Rex's dad. Like, that was just a kind of a one-off thing. Is it going to come back in the last episode? I don't know.
Yeah, also, like, yeah, remember Esther's sisters volunteering her and her kids for Category 1? That was straight 2 months ago in universe. Like, if the government works at the pace it has been the whole show, Esther's sister is straight dead, dog.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one is going to come back in the final episode, though, just because they've been building it for the whole series.
I hope so. I hope so.
What if episode 10 is like a couple year time? It starts after like a couple years time skip, and they just detail the aftermath, and we don't actually get the in the moment resolution.
Not even that. It's just like Gwen and Jack a year later, and they're like, hey, remember that Children of Earth thing? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, remember that Miracle Day thing that happened right after that? And it's like, yeah. And then they just like go on a completely unrelated adventure.
Yeah, bringing it all the way back to the episodic nature of series 1 and 2. Bringing it full circle. Anyway,
yeah, exactly. Everything changes.
Yeah, they weren't lying. Everything does change at the last minute when you least expect it.
Surprise.
Oswald reveals why he's there, though. He tells them that he spent a lot of time tracking down Gwen because he needs to get to Jack because he has crucial information. And they go,
well,
what information?
He thinks he has crucial information.
Right. They ask him what he knows, and he reveals that he has, he's the first person in the world to discover how much wood a woodchuck would chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
No, it's better than that. He's the first person in the world to know how much Sally is selling her seashells for down by the seashore.
He makes a few more innuendos here about him looking up child pornography, and it's as uncomfortable as it was last time.
I mean, he doesn't go so far as to insinuate he's looking things up, but he does say he knows his way around the internet because he's very good with the internet.
He says he's very good at hiding his presence online, and given his character and his backstory, like, yeah, it's pretty much what he's talking about.
Sure.
God. No, what he actually tells them is that he has crucial information about the miracle.
Right. Again, he's got the name, allegedly, of who started it, because he stole Jilly Kitzinger's computer.
Yeah. Yeah. We forgot to mention also, as all of this is going down, Jilly Kitzinger has been invited to a job interview on a random park bench.
Well, so I thought this was like they had regular meetings, her and this guy at this bench, and this was just the regular meeting for the week.
Yeah, that's what it was. I just wanted to make it sound funnier.
You could, like, make the actual joke of when she gets to Shanghai going for a job interview in an abandoned just restaurant in the middle of God knows where.
Yeah, there's a lot that happens in Shanghai this week, yet it's obviously, not, right? Because they, like, the shots we get in Shanghai are, like, a restaurant on the however manyth story of a skyscraper and, like, just a random abandoned back alley / lot in the dark.
Yeah, we get some establishing shots and then like the studio set.
Yeah. Or like a really rundown hotel room we see at the very end. But yeah, Joey Kitzinger gets invited to Shanghai for the next stage of her journey into working for the families.
Yeah. I like how everybody she talks to in this episode ends their conversation with her by going, "We'll never meet again."
Yeah, gives them a
Like, "You'll never see me again."
right. It really works because the guy she meets with later is just he looks like such a random dude. Like he's like texting while he's talking to her, but that line, it just gives him this air of like mystery and danger.
I mean, we know she's probably in danger because the guy on the park bench is like, "I'm kind of jealous. They're taking you to see the blessing." And he's like, "It kills some people. They kill themselves after seeing it. All right, good luck. Wonder what it'll do to you."
Yeah. Yeah. She's really just vying for this power, though. I mean, she's going for it.
So, meanwhile, at the Cooper residence, Oswald tells them that, shoot, I didn't write the name down now. The name of the guy he says started the miracle.
Oh, Harry Bosco?
Yeah, there we go. Harry Bosco.
Yeah, so Jack actually shows up. There were some people surveilling Gwen, but he and Gwen managed to take them down, and he and Esther show up at Gwen's place.
Right.
And this is when we get the details about Harry Bosco.
Yeah. If you Google Harry Bosco, the like second link that comes up is the TARDIS wiki, so
wow.
lol.
Wow. Yeah, I forget the exact description, but Harry Bosco was during the Vietnam War a PR person / translator who would manipulate information by giving subtly altered / not good faith translations.
Yeah, which is, a pretty big brain move to propagandize the public, since technically you translated it, but you've given them a different meaning. There's a lot of subtlety and nuance that goes into translation, and the effect of a sentence can be drastically changed by just rearranging some of the words, even though like the translation of the words is direct. You can change the meaning very easily.
Right.
And this is why it's so hard to read Kafka as an English-speaking, non-German-speaking person. But anyway.
No, I mean, if you're reading the translation, you just read the translation. That's like, it's all you have,
Yeah,
it's not like
but
you
there's
can
like so
even
many
access.
fights over what's the best translate. It's the same for Dostoevsky. Like there are so many fights over like whose translation is the best and who maintains the like quote character unquote of the original author, and like whose flows the best, and like, oh my god.
Yeah, you just gotta pick one and go for it. I mean, each one is going to be different from the original no matter what. All translations, there's no like translation that fully captures what the original is, because each one's different. And actually, I forget who it was. I think it was Haruki Murakami, the Japanese writer, who said that he didn't even want his name on translations of his books. He's like, don't put by my name, put by the translator's name.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the translators' names don't sell copies.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I'm not reading Jimmy Shortsticks' Private LA. I'm reading James Patterson's Private LA. It's not the actual name of the ghostwriter. I made it up for anybody who was confused. Anyway, Esther just laughs and is like, "You're such a fool, Oswald." And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Harry Bosco wasn't a person. Or he was, but in the Vietnam War, he's not a person now." Just like ignoring the fact that, I don't know, she's met at least one immortal person, plus Angelo lived for like 120 years. Like, could be the same guy.
Yeah, she says Harry Bosco was a process. I guess this process of what he did was, named after him.
Yeah, according to the TARDIS wiki, Harry Bosco was a man who would alter information. eventually Harry Bosco became not the man but the process.
Right. So they learn that the families have been subtly hiding, or they have been, I guess hiding in plain sight, you could say, by putting information through this sort of Harry Bosco process of subtly changing things, hiding things.
Mm-hmm.
Really, Google translating their way to, well, not fame,
world
just fortune.
domination.
Yeah, exactly, just world domination.
They have to call up Rex for some help so he can get the CIA's top translators on the mission.
Right, because there's a bit of footage from Shanghai about this guy who, I forget exactly what it was.
He's at a blood bank.
Yeah, he was at like a blood bank, and I forget why he was like bleeding out, but
he's like mega burned.
Yeah, there was like an explosion at a blood bank or something, and he according to the translation they get from Rex, he says that the blessing saved him, but it was ultimately translated as it was a miracle, I was saved, or something like that.
It's a godsend, I was saved. They wouldn't use the word miracle, too sus.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, because it was in the original dialect, it's the blessing saved my life, but then it was translated to another dialect of Chinese as it's a blessing my life was saved, and then translated to English as it was a godsend that my life was saved.
Right. So they know something's up in Shanghai now. They have a lead.
And then they find out something's up in Buenos Aires because a blood bank blew up there like the same day as the one in Shanghai, which, like, if that's how they solve this whole thing, if it's actually something going down in Argentina, it's going to be such a hilarious like oversight on the family's part. Like if they just spaced out their blood bank explosions by like a couple days, no one would have even known.
Well, they don't have too much time to think about this for now because who's back but Finch?
He's back and he wants Garant.
Yeah, that he does. So they have, I forget what they bring better technology. And they find
imaging. Thermal imaging, which I massively misspelled as thermal imaginaging. So whoops.
Thermal imagining. They find him, they drag him out, and in this final scene where he's being put in the ambulance to be taken to the camps, you see that, like, yeah, he's pretty much not alive anymore. Like, he's
probably gonna die next episode.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's like they're saying goodbye to him, Gwen and Mary, and it's like he's not responsive. He's not like on the lower end of the category ones. He's on like he's on like the end that was correctly identified as category 1, like not to justify what they're doing or anything, right? But it's just like he went through a heart attack, and without the miracle, he definitely would have died. Type thing, and they were just kind of holding on to this thing that they shouldn't have been holding on to, just holding on to him even though he was dead.
They got an extra 2 months out of that 2-month time skip.
Yeah, but like this scene really put it into perspective for me, at least, where I was like, just look at what they were doing. I mean, they were hiding him in this dark, dank basement. Like, he probably wasn't even able to interact with them at all. He was probably basically brain dead. So really sad, but yeah.
Yeah, and they were like risking life and limb to keep him hidden from the government, even though it seems like there's no repercussions to anyone in the family for hiding him there.
No. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, he probably would have never gotten back to how he was before, so yeah, and the worst part is that like Gwen and Mary look like they know, like, they basically know that, and yeah, they just kind of have to let go at the end.
Well, this is how Gwen actually decides to go on this mission to Shanghai/Buenos Aires, because she's like, we're gonna solve this thing and get my dad back and end this whole miracle. Reese is the one who figures out that the reason why those two cities seem to be connected, even though they don't, have anything in common is because they're on the opposite sides of the worlds, which is false, by the way. I googled it. I wanted to check their geography here. The antipode of Shanghai, China, is actually the closest city to the antipode is Las Charulas. That's how you say that.
Which is where?
And in Argentina, Buenos Aires isn't even in the top 10 closest cities to the antipode of Shanghai. I mean, the biggest city in this top 10 is San Salvador, which is only 45 kilometers from the antipode.
Huh. Maybe they just wanted to use a city that people would know.
I mean, people don't know San Salvador?
Probably not. Probably not.
All right. I guess.
But yeah, they figured it out. They have this, like, oh damn moment where they look at the Phi Corps logo, and it's as you pointed out, I didn't even pick up on this, but it's the Phi, the Greek letter Phi, but which is, the circle with the line through it, and they're like, oh my god, it's been staring us in the face the entire time. A line through the world.
They draw a lot of conclusions just from this, like, it's just the Greek letter Phi, and they're like, oh my god. This is like Lost fans looking for secrets in every single scene of the show, like, oh my god, this explains everything.
They're right, though. They're onto them. Maybe Phi Corps shouldn't have made this their logo.
Maybe Phi Corps should have picked another name, but anyway.
Or maybe they should have decided not to enact the miracle. Might have been for the best.
Yeah, that too. All of this is just a 100-year revenge plot. Don't forget that. A 100-year revenge plot against a guy they didn't even know would be on Earth in 100 years.
We don't know for sure, okay?
Okay, we don't know for sure that it's a revenge plot, but like...
all will be revealed in due time.
Somehow I don't think it will be. We have 50 minutes of this TV show left. Unless Twitter spoils the final episode of the show for me, as they've done countless times before with Torchwood. Well, as I said like 6 weeks ago on this podcast, I had a major like plot element of the finale spoiled for me in a completely un-Torchwood related thread on Reddit, so...
Wow. So you still have that hanging over your head. Nice.
Yes. Anyway, Oswald's like, you have to take me with you because like you have no other choice, and everybody just believes him, even though like they could easily just turn him in now. He says if they turn him in, then they'll wonder who he is, or they'll wonder who they are and why they have Oswald Danes in their custody. That's such a BS explanation. His original argument was like, you can't turn me in because I know you're hiding someone in this house, and if you turn me in, then I'll sell you out. But like, now that Garrett's been taken away, like what? Yeah, then they could just like drop him off and ring the doorbell and run away, like. Not only that, but like, are the police really gonna care like why they were harboring Oswald Danes and turned him in? Like, he's the most wanted / hated man on the planet. Do you really think they're gonna wonder like who these people are who turned him in? Like, they might. It's a pretty flimsy excuse that they all fall for, but there's some truth to it. Barely. There's like the barest amount of truth in that statement. Anyway, they decide to take him. At first, they want to just leave him there with Reese, and then he's like, you don't want to do that, Gwen. If you leave me alone with Reese, Reese will kill me. Really weaseling his way into the mission. Also, like, I don't know. Murder doesn't exist anymore, remember? That was the whole thing in that one where Vera died. Yeah. The categories of life. She doesn't want Reese to make him a Category 1, though. She wants to keep his hands clean. Great, well then she can do it. It's not like Gwen has shown any qualms about killing people before. Yeah, I don't think Oswald is gonna make it out alive. Like, I would be surprised if he is not dead by the end of the
the show, I guess. So he'll probably die in the next episode.
Meanwhile, Jilly, under the fake name of Lucy Staten Meredith, gets taken to the blessing. And the blessing, as it turns out, is just like a big pot of honey. That's it. It's just a big pot of honey they found buried under the mantle of the planet for some reason.
Yeah, with the spelled Hunny.
Yeah. Then a giant lumbering bear comes crashing through the wall.
Yeah, this thing is just massive. Like, imagine how big T-Rexes were. This is just orders of magnitude just larger.
Now, I didn't think Doctor Who or Doctor Who adjacent material would be ballsy enough to cross over with another classic British franchise, Winnie the Pooh, but we got to give them props for going through with it.
Yeah, this is probably also the darkest Winnie the Pooh content that's ever been put out, except maybe the Tigger movie. That one got pretty up there. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, which part are you just kidding about? We kept that joke going a lot longer than I thought we would.
Yeah, so I don't know why I know this, but for some reason, this is kind of mind-boggling. Winnie the Pooh is like the number 3 highest grossing media franchise in the world. I think number 1 is Pokemon, 2 is something else, and 3 is Winnie the Pooh.
I'm not surprised.
Really? I didn't think Winnie the Pooh was that huge.
Huh. What? I always thought it was huge.
Is it just like merch sales or what?
Probably. Merch sales, movies, books. Winnie the Pooh's got his fingers in a lot of metaphorical pies.
God, yeah, a lot of different honey pots. I'm actually curious what the second one was. I'm going to look it up because it's Pokemon something else than Winnie the Pooh.
Look, they even made a trilogy of movies in Soviet Russia with Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, there you go. It is... Yes, so number 1 is Pokemon. 2 is Hello Kitty. Dang. That one is also a surprise. 3 is Winnie the Pooh. 4 is Mickey Mouse. And 5 is Star Wars.
According to Forbes, Winnie the Pooh merch generates $5.9 billion a year. So...
more money than, most people will ever see in a lifetime. Maybe multiple lifetimes, actually.
More money than you can probably even conceptualize.
Yeah. Well,
what is the comparison? If I made $1,000 every minute since the beginning, since Jesus was born, I still wouldn't have as much money as Jeff Bezos or something like that. It's something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, just past the point where money even has any meaning. There's no difference between having that amount of money and being a several billion-dollar billionaire, you know? There's literally no tangible difference. Pokemon, the franchise as a whole, has made over $100 billion. My God.
Money, money, money.
3 million of its dollars have come from jet aircraft sales. Pokemon planes. There's an entire Wikipedia page called Pokemon Jet, which Pokemon Jet refers to a number of aircraft that were operated by Japanese airline All Nippon Airways in a promotional Pokemon livery.
Oh, God. I just looked up that thing I was talking about, too, with how much I'd have to earn to, get to Jeff Bezos, and apparently Jeff Bezos makes $3,700 a second. Just over the course of this podcast, he's made $13.4 million. Probably more than I'll see in my lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting a physics PhD. It is more than you'll see in your lifetime.
Wow, thanks for dunking on me so hard.
I'm sorry, but people like PhDs don't earn that much, sadly.
Well, that's where you're wrong. Physics PhDs can make up to 7 figures starting salary.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, all right. Physics PhDs might be the one PhD that can actually earn a lot of money.
If you go into the right field
else,
with it, you can make a ton of money.
Yeah, anything else, you get a PhD and you're screwed.
Yeah, why even bother at that point?
Yeah. Anyway, no, the blessing, to get back on track
to that tangent we started 5 minutes ago.
Several $1 million ago.
Several million Jeff Bezos dollars ago.
The blessing is just a giant fissure that runs through the earth.
Yeah, you know, I described it as something like less PG in my notes. I'm not going to repeat here. But it's like sucking everything into it, everything nearby. Apparently they found it by just like digging. You have to wonder how they knew to dig right there. I guess this also resolves the they were looking for a geography plot thread that was introduced 1 million years ago.
Yeah. More just a bit of foreshadowing, I guess.
Don't really know how this fissure gives everyone immortality.
You gotta hand it to them, though. It is a very overwhelming thing. It's almost as awe-inspiring in the negative sense, not in the positive sense, as they've made it out to be for the entire season. It's not a disappointment when you actually find out what the blessing is, because it's just this almost unfathomable thing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, at least. I'm sure there were people out there who were like, well, that's lame.
I was just like, what? My whole reaction is what?
Yeah, that reaction is there's a payoff to that reaction of wait, what? That's what it is? It's you never would have guessed, you know? And in that sense, there's something, I don't know, mysterious about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's indescribable, really. It looks kind of fleshy.
Yeah.
Which, to me, begs the question, like, how do we reconcile this within the forest of the night when the Earth just, like, grows all those trees overnight and then they vanish? Is the Earth alive? Is the Doctor Who universe saying that the Earth is like a mega being, like Ego the Living Planet in the DC Comics universe?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe it's just going about that gist in several different ways. Even when they don't line up, asking us to disregard canon.
Look, Doctor Who has so many different canons that, like, reconciling them all with each other is nigh on impossible. So I just assume everything is canon. Even things that directly contradict each other, like the 3 different sinkings of Atlantis in the Doctor Who universe.
Yeah. Well, Jilly Kitzinger looks into the void, and the void stares back, and she knows that she's made the right decision. That power is within her grasp.
Yeah, well, probably death, too.
You think Jilly Kitzinger is going to die? She probably will.
Yes. Yes, probably by Jack's hands, in all honesty. Since Jack, Gwen, and our favorite character all make it to Shanghai, China, while Esther and Rex Shanghai, go China, to Buenos Aires.
As opposed to that other...
As opposed to Shanghai, Texas or something.
Yeah.
It's like Paris, France, as opposed to Paris, Texas.
Mm-hmm. Ontario, California.
Look, Paris, Texas has their own Eiffel Tower, so that makes it legitimate.
Wait, they do?
I'm pretty sure they do, yeah. You know what? Let's just Google it. Why is Campbell's Soup like the second leading employer of people in Paris, Texas? All 900 employees.
Huh. Oh, yeah, there is one. It's a landmark of the city Paris, Texas.
Nice. See, that makes it legit. Oh yeah, it's the one with the Texas hat on top. With the 10-gallon hat on top.
Let's just take this architectural feat, this icon, and and make it, tacky or something.
I mean, the Eiffel Tower was never intended to be permanent.
Well, too bad for whoever didn't intend it to be permanent then.
It was built for the World's Fair in Paris by Gustave Eiffel. And he built it for the World's Fair, and then, after the World's Fair, they were going to take it down because it was just supposed to be the centerpiece of the fair, but then, people liked it so much they left it, which is why I believe it's had to be retrofitted, multiple times since it was built because of the fact that it wasn't meant to be permanent.
Huh. Well, the more you know, I guess.
So, and then the reason why the Ferris wheel was invented is we can thank that, thanks to the Eiffel Tower. But that's a story for another time.
Yeah, we're almost at the end here. The three have made it. They're in this hotel room in Shanghai. Jack is bleeding out because his wound is just not healing.
Yeah, he apparently told Gwen that it was better, and Gwen's like, "Why'd you lie to me?" And he's like, "Well, you wouldn't let me come if I had been told the truth." Which, true.
Some of his blood gets onto the floor, and it starts moving by itself towards the blessing.
Right.
And that's the end.
Well, let's not forget about Rex. Let's not forget about Rex giving away their position in Buenos Aires because the only way he could get just a suitcase filled with Jack's blood into the country is to go through diplomatic channels. And immediately this flags Charlotte on her computer, and she's like, "Well, shoot, they figured it out."
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's not going to end well for them, probably.
No, I mean, the preview for the next episode makes it out like Rex and Esther have been captured.
The preview also has a really great line where probably someone from the families, it might have even been the woman who takes Jilly to see the miracle, says, "We changed the whole of the world." Get it? Mm-hmm. The whole of the world.
Wow. Wow.
It was great.
Wow.
I'm excited to see where it all goes. This is the last episode of Torchwood. I don't know how, but somehow we've made it to the end. Intact.
Yeah, that's the thing that's most overwhelming about next week, let's say, is the fact that not only are we about to find out what happens, the miracle, why does the miracle happen, what happened, how does it work, we're about to end Torchwood. We're about to reach the end of a second show on Trust Your Doctor.
Man. We've been doing,
and that's just that's a testament to how long we've been doing this, I guess.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel like we started that long ago. I mean, it feels like it was just a few days ago. Almost.
Just a few days ago, we were getting to brag on Owen, Tashi, Anto, Gwen, and Jack, the team. Just a few days ago, we made a bunch of jokes about this being a religious allegory, and then a new segment was born.
And here we are. They grow up so fast.
Amazing. Do they really, though?
Yeah, took us years to finish Doctor Who, so I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say about this episode because it feels kind of like a part one of two almost with next week's episode.
No, it wasn't. It was exciting. It was tense.
It did what it needed to do. I'm still not sure about the whole 2 month time skip. I'm not sold on its necessity in the story. Nothing really sold me on why it had to be 2 weeks, 2 months. Could have been like a week, and it feels like we would be in the same position, in a depression where no one's got jobs because we were, again, already basically there, in end of the road.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show that like how stuck the Torchwood team is, right? Like Rex keeps getting blocked by Charlotte, although he doesn't know that. Esther and Jack they're treating the same wound. Gwen has fallen, into stealing medicine and stuff, and they're not making any progress. It's been like that much time, and they're still just kind of hanging in there, not really able to do anything. So I think it just kind of shows you that, yeah, they're basically stuck.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. To me, it just starts begging all these questions, like, well, what did they do in those 2 months, and like, why were they stuck, and like, what happened during those 2 months between them? It to me feels like the previous episode they wrote themselves into a bit of a corner where they were like, Rex is stuck at the base, Jack's been shot and is on the run with Esther, Gwen's being deported, Garant is dying, what do we do? And then we skip 2 months and everything's like, the resolution to those plot threads happened off screen. We're just seeing where they're at now. And that, to me, feels a little bit like a cop-out, but I guess it's compounded by the fact that we had 8 episodes before this where, yeah, I guess like you said, there are still time skips. It felt very continuous and like we were seeing pretty much everything that was the Torchwood team was doing. And so for us to just skip 2 months is like, okay, sure, I guess. I mean, maybe for me, it would have worked better if we had actually seen Esther and Jack treat the wound initially and like seen Gwen get home so that we have the resolution to the dangling plot threads from last week. Then we skip 2 months to see what happens. Like, as it stands, we don't get that resolution, and that bothers me.
Huh.
But that's just me. And other than that, I have nothing else to say and no emails to read. So we just have our segments to do.
Yeah. And there were new actors this week. They weren't too major. The characters they played weren't very major, but yeah. We have Ian Hughes playing Finch, the inspector guy.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a big career. He's only been in 12 things since he first started acting in the early 80s. Yeah. Well, he was in something in 1981, The Treachery Game. And then his next role was in The Sherman Plays in 1996. And then his next role after that was in Bright Young Things in 2003. So, took some pretty big breaks. He was in Casualty, Doctors, Holby City, a couple times.
Yeah, the classic British not sci-fi sitcoms.
He was in Doctor Who. He played Nibs in Empress of Mars. I don't remember who Nibs was, but he played him.
I have no idea who that is.
He was probably one of the soldiers who combated the Ice Warriors.
It could be literally anyone.
It was Nibs. You don't remember Nibs? Yeah, no, I don't remember who Nibs was either.
But you acting like you know who Nibs is.
After revealing that I already didn't. No, yeah, he was Nibs, so that's cool, I guess, and that's him basically.
Yeah, so I looked up Frances Fisher, who plays her character is called the Mother. She's the lady who shows Chili the actual blessing, and who seems to be one of the people in charge with the families. She's been in actually quite a few things: Titanic, The Expanse, the TV show for Fargo, the 2020 Watchmen TV show, Criminal Minds, Eureka, Grey's Anatomy, ER, a movie called Striptease, which I own the poster for some reason, The Equalizer, and her greatest acting credit, the role to end all roles that would win everyone an Oscar. She was in Beverly Hills Chihuahua 3.
Heck yeah. A movie.
We actually watched Beverly Hills Chihuahua 3 for Triple Play for an episode that'll be coming out in a couple months.
Yeah, I watched that trilogy and then excised most of it from my memory. I didn't even...
Yeah. That's pretty much what happened to me. We sat here before we started recording this episode just trying to figure out like which Beverly Hills Chihuahua plot was the third one.
The first one has such a direct-to-DVD vibe that we thought that one was, or I thought that one was the first one. I thought the first... Oh my god, I don't even know.
Try that again.
I thought the first one was the third one because it has such a direct-to-DVD feel about it. But hey, if you ever want to watch a movie trilogy that makes you wonder why you're watching it, go ahead and watch Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
If you ever wanted to watch a movie series that so grossly gets like what a movie is wrong on every conceivable level, watch the Beverly Hills Chihuahua series. Anyway, speaking of people getting things wrong, Gwen commits lots of wrath this week.
Yeah, wrath. I don't think she actually commits any
Greed.
Greed, yeah, sure. Stealing.
She's scalping the drugs.
Yeah, right.
She's selling them for profit.
Yeah, okay.
Which, look, you might say, well, maybe she's selling it for really cheap. Then it's not really a profit. False. It's everything she sells it for is a profit because she gets the drugs for free because she steals them.
Yeah, all right. I don't think she committed any other sins, though, probably.
No, I don't think so.
Good on her, keeping it down to 2 this week. We'll see how she does in the finale.
Maybe she just does all 7 of them.
She's committed sloth, like, what, twice? A couple times.
Yeah.
I think that's her.
A couple times.
The lowest. I think that out of all the sins she's committed sloth the least.
Yeah, Trust Your Doctor super fan out there can go track like how many times we've assigned each sin to Gwen. And tell us, because heaven knows I'm not going to do that. How's Jack going to take it this week?
Well, he seems to be bleeding out. They seem to be...
Still, again, same place as... He's in the same place as last week, it seems like.
They seem to be coming up against an unfathomably large and dangerous force. So those two together combined make me think he's going to end up at least taking this pretty badly.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're going to be using Jack's blood as some sort of weapon against this blessing thing. And, like, how is that going to work? I don't know. Did they even explain that they were going to do that? I don't think they did.
No, they didn't.
Rex just shows up with a suitcase filled with Jack's blood and expects Esther to know what the hell is going on.
Britishisms? I don't think there were really any this week.
No, I don't think so.
And I guess that's that.
Yep. That's it. So if you'd like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decadavevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on the end of Torchwood. That's it. We're done. Next week. You can find us on YouTube at Decadent Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and anywhere you get a podcast at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us on Twitter, TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next time, we're going to be finishing not only Miracle Day, but Children of Earth. No, we're going to be finishing not only Miracle Day, but Torchwood as a whole with the Bloodline. But until then, the end.